last week on the Al Nicoletti Show. So let's bring them on. Juan Gomez, Jimmy Fuentes. Let's go, guys.
Thanks for having us, man. What an intro. I'm trying to figure out who you were talking about, bro. I called the lady up. So when she tells me it needs to go through probate, I said, absolutely not a problem. We'll take care of probate from A to Z for you. And I had no idea what probate meant. But she's ready to give me the property as long as I do probate. I'm ready to do probate.
But I spoke to a buddy of mine. His name is Mike McKay. And I was telling him, like, man, we got this deal. We almost closed, but it's a dud. We can't pay for probate. And I'm not going to pay for probate. And I don't even know if it's buildable. He's like, what do you mean pay for probate? Just talk to Al. He'll take care of it. And then you pay him at closing. I'm like, oh, yeah? I'm like, oh, let's go.
And then I remember talking to Juan one day, and Juan was like, yeah, man, that was our first deal ever. And I was like, wait, what? And I remember you were like, that changed everything we did, because from that we were able to grow and do other things.
I think one of the biggest learning curves that really hit us was marketing. It's extremely competitive. I think communities has helped us a ton, right? We just being part of like really great communities. Like I said, we're part of Sub 2. We're part of the REI Civ community with Tyler.
There's always somebody that has gone through whatever problem you're going through. So being part of a good community, it's super major.
How has been your experience with dealing with novations in this market?
Novations, honestly, I think might be the future of wholesaling, if you will.
I'm wholesaling it, but I'm not even wholesaling into an investor. I'm wholesaling into like the end user. And that's why novations kind of work, because that end user doesn't need to see profit margin, you know?
How are you leveraging social media for real estate business?
Social media has helped me a lot with networking. When I enter rooms, I'm just getting started, and even then people come up to me like, hey, I saw your videos, or we spoke on social media. I'm like, yes, we did. In general, people just respect you a little bit more. Most people aren't even in the business for that long. How many opportunities are you missing on just because you're not even around?
What do you look for in new hires?
The answer to that is energy, for sure. I'd rather take somebody that doesn't know nothing about nothing of the industry. If you give me that energy, like everything could be taught, everything could be trained.
See you soon. Thank you for so much for coming on and being on the show.
Thank you for having us, brother.
What a fun episode that was with Juan Gomez and Jimmy Fuentes. If you missed any of that episode, check that out on all of the social platforms out there. Scan the QR code. It's so great when we get to bring on guests that are just doing deals, whether they've just started and they're 3 to 4 years in, seasoned investors, realtors, you name it, because it's just great hearing the experiences, and everybody's going through something different. And we want to always provide that to you. So always check out the content that's out there on YouTube and all the social platforms. And tonight we have the amazing Alicia Jarrett from Supercharged Offers. You don't want to miss this episode. There's so much to love about Alicia, and what a backstory with her as well. We got connected from a title company here in Jacksonville, Sunshine Title, back in 2019. And it's crazy how both of us just kept connected. We stayed connected, and it's amazing seeing her progress. And we just always kept in touch on what's going on. And she's just a wealth of information when it comes to marketing, land investing, doing things virtual. She's living and from Australia and doing deals, and then traveling the country. And then, she's doing everything. You're going to love it. And I can't wait to jump into this. So you all know I got my pen, I got my paper, and I got my notes, and I'm ready to rock this thing. Let's go. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate, and always bringing the best in the game. Whether we're talking about marketing, branding, social media, commercial properties, Airbnbs, so many topics. Think about how many topics we've had on the Al Nicoletti Show. And it's not just about wholesaling and Airbnbs and long-term holds. We're bringing on everybody talking about inbound marketing, outbound marketing, on how you can take your company to the next level. On the show today, I have the amazing Alicia Jarrett from Supercharged Offers. I'm excited for this episode because we are all going to learn about so much when it comes to direct mail, cold calling, the role of VAs. And on the show, we are saving the best for last, the 5Ds and the mistakes people are making when it comes to marketing. So without further ado, let's welcome Alicia to the show. Alicia.
It's always so good to see you. I was so excited. And just watching that little snippet from last week, what amazing guys you had on last week.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Their first deal ever was a probate deal. It's crazy.
Funny that. And it's interesting that you said we met in 2019. I thought it was longer than that because I feel like I've known you forever.
I know. Time flies when we're having fun, isn't it?
It sure does. It sure does. But thank you for having me on. I know for those listening, I was actually one of your first podcast guests way back when you started,
Yes.
when we didn't have all these fancy studios and different things going on. So it's so good to be back and hopefully adding a lot of value to your audience today.
So true. You were one of the first and believed in what I was doing with the podcast and the episodes. And I mean, so much has changed since the last time you were on the show and just a massive transition that you went through. I got to hear about this because when I saw you at Family and Hero, you were doing Supercharged Offers.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, wait a second. Where did that transition go? I missed something in this
What
time.
happened to the real estate business, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's still there. Yeah, it's still there.
So tell us a little bit about that transition, what that was like for you.
Yeah. So I wouldn't exactly call it a transition because it's a really interesting word, right? I hear the word transition and I think we're going from one thing to another. But really, it was just a case of myself and my business partner, Matt, who, we really just had to stop at regular intervals in our businesses, plural, because we do have a few, and really think about strategy and direction. Now, there are times when market shifts happen and different shifts happen in your businesses that you sometimes, you need to take stock and make decisions, right? So partway through last year, we were looking at our vacant land business because we'd been doing buying and selling vacant land in Florida for, goodness me, 8 years. Up until that point. And we had Supercharged Offers running kind of on the side. But the market was telling us that needed to flip. So we needed to keep our land business on the side, which we still have, but we're only doing a couple of deals a year and we're making them bigger deals, entitlement deals, complicated deals where, the gold is in the hard stuff, I say. So we're looking for those deals that we can do some forced appreciation strategies on, maybe sort out some issues for the owner that no one else wants to touch because I don't mind dealing with the tough stuff. And then Supercharged Offers was starting to take over. So we really just had to make that decision as well, Al, about which direction do we want our business to go and where are we getting the most enjoyment as well? Because I love what we do in Supercharged Offers and I love it because we get to see people every day in their real estate businesses going from strength to strength and growing and scaling and doing all this cool stuff. So that for me is where we were at. And obviously with what we're doing with Supercharged Offers, so real estate investor marketing, we really wanted to capture what the market is doing right now and looking at different things like AI, automation, different things that we can start to emerge into different products to really help our customers do even better. So that was the switch. That was the switch last year. And you caught us just when I saw you at Hero and then at Family. We were just in the process of initiating all of that.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was during the pandemic or a little after, you were starting to put yourself out there for videos and marketing. And I remember at that time, I was like, wow, I could see a shift, and that you got energy and you were loving the marketing side to things and direct mail. And that's your jam. So let's talk about that because I'm going to save the 5Ds for last.
Yep.
Because that's the best for last. Let's talk about direct mail and what you see that's working with direct mail and the different types that investors need to look out for.
Yeah, really great question. And here's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, direct mail doesn't work anymore. It does, but, and here's the caveat, you've got to have your data match your marketing. And you've got to realize that markets all go in cycles. You and I know that, Al. Everyone else in your audience knows that. But sometimes they don't know when to listen to those cycles and go, okay, where is the cycle at? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? And how do I need to adjust my direct mail strategy to align with that? because we can't expect, I speak to people all day long and people are like, gee, I wish I could get the results I had in 2021. I'm like, yeah, me too. But guess what? It's 2024. The market has shifted. We've gone through this lull of last year with things like interest rates, inflation, et cetera, really affecting what's on the market, but equally what sellers are willing to sell for and what buyers are willing to buy for. And so we need to always be cognizant of that and have that show up in the marketing. So let's bring this back to direct mail then. What you sent in 2021 is not going to be the same thing that you should be sending today. And here's why. Market message match. You need to make sure that what you're marketing out and the message that you're sending matches where your audience is at. So if you used to send out a blind offer in 2021 at 35 cents on the dollar, let's just use some fictitious numbers here, it's highly likely that 35 cents is not going to work anymore. And it's highly likely that the message to the seller is not going to work anymore. Most sellers are driven by two things that you and I know of: money and time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we need to play on those elements. Now, depending on if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, those two things are going to mean different things at different points in time to that audience. So how we go about doing direct mail for our customers is, first and foremost, we let the data, we're very, very big on data in our business. We let the data tell us what we should do. What I mean by that, so let's say that we segment the data down to out of state and out of county owners. Well, they might get one piece of mail talking about the fact that they're nowhere near their property, and maybe they got liens on their property because people have been using it as a dump site because they're never near it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus older owners that have owned it for more than 20 years. Maybe it was inherited through a quick claim deed, or there was a $100 transaction. So maybe that mailer might want to talk about one of your favorite topics. Is there a probate needed? Is there a reason why they're not selling because they don't know what to do if there's problems with the title? Versus portfolio owners, people that own more than 3 properties, they get a separate mailer. Versus if you're doing entitlement deals, so if you're looking for bigger properties that you can split, well, they get a separate mailer, because each one of those groups has their own goals, but also their own set of problems. And if you want to think of it through a marketing lens, marketing is about how do you solve people's problems and how do you market in a way that says, I want to have a conversation with you about your problem and see if I'm the right person to help you. That's what it's about. Right. So I know that was a really long answer to your question, right?
No, this is fantastic. Let's dive deeper on the message part though, because that is what I think a lot of investors struggle on with what to write in the letters. And of course, it's going to depend on what that lead source is, right? Yep. Whether it's probate or maybe some kind of tax delinquent issue. But what you craft in that message needs to stick out.
Yeah, it does.
How are you crafting it to have that message stick to that potential seller out of state, out of country, and thinking of that in mind?
Yeah. I said out of county, by the way. That's probably my Aussie accent, but
we love it.
Out of state, out of county. So there's a couple of things. First and foremost, mailers these days need to be super personalized. What do I mean by that? Have a photo of you and your family. Have a decent signature at the bottom that shows it's actually you and not just some kind of computer generated thing. Have some information about your company, a QR code that they can go and check you out. So different call to actions and different things that they can interact with. So gone are the days that you can just print a standard letter and send it, right? But then making the content of that more personalized. So let's just say it was an out of state, out of county owner. You might put some information in there. And here's the thing, here's the catch-22. Too much content is just that. It's too much content. When you put a whole page of information out there and you're trying to cram as much in as possible, you got to think, if I was to open that envelope, would I read it or would I look at it and go, ugh, there's too much on that and just put it aside?
Correct.
So get to the key points and get to it quickly. Don't feel like you have to write an essay. It might be some dot points. So it might be, hey, I'm reaching out to you because the data tells me that you are out of state and out of county. So you might be experiencing these problems. And a couple of dot points. Have you got people dumping trash on your property? Do you often worry about your property because you know we're near it and maybe you haven't been to see it in a long time? Are there potential liens on your property because you need to do some upkeep and you're not sure if the person that you're paying to do that is actually going and doing that? So again, I'm making this up as I go, right? But every mailer needs to be tailored to the message of what you're trying to get across. People in this world, we all want to feel seen and we want to feel heard, and we can still do that in direct mail.
Yeah, and that is a direct mail is working for a lot of people. And every time I'm asking the land people, like, what's working marketing wise, direct mail. And cold calling does too. But the direct mail seems to hit, I don't know, the demographic and just people like looking at things. People don't want to be
100%.
they don't want to be bombarded with letters. I mean, phone calls. They want to just take their time and they shove it in the drawer. And then eventually when
Yeah.
they're interested, they'll pull it out and say, "Ooh, I liked Alicia's pink letter that had just a couple points and it said, call me, and has her website." So I think that's great. But cold calling is still working and you're a fan of that.
I am.
How is cold calling playing a role? What works and what doesn't?
Yeah, I think what works and what doesn't, let's pull that back to a different question and answer the question, what is customer experience these days? So customer experience, or CX as a lot of people know it as well, is about creating an environment that makes it easy for your customers to do business with you in any way they choose. Okay. And then as they're going through those ways that they choose, a bit of like a choose your own adventure, right? How easy are we making it for them to go from one step to the next to the next? This is where things like funnels and all of that come into play as well. So when we think about our customers these days, let's just use vacant land as the example because you and I are across that a lot. 8 years ago, when we first started, we were mainly dealing with generally just older people that were responding to direct mail. Maybe they were in their 70s and above. That was the majority, right? But in the last few years, Al, I've really seen a change in that we're now dealing with people in their 20s and 30s, all the way up to their 80s and 90s and everything in between. Now, that whole everything in between thing, I'm in my late 40s. I'm a digital person. I don't respond to direct mail. I respond to an ad that I click on. I respond to, if it's a direct mail piece and it catches my eye, I'm likely to not read it, but I am likely to click on a QR code and go straight to someone's website and check them out. So everybody does business differently. And I think what we need to keep in mind these days is when you have a list that you're targeting, you need to make sure that you are maximizing that list by using an omni-channel presence across all the marketing channels that gives your prospects a chance to do business with you in a way that they choose. So whether that be responding to a cold call, responding to direct mail, clicking on an ad, going to your website, clicking on a QR code, whatever it is, make that journey really easy for them. So again, to come back to your question, do I like cold calling and does it work? It does, because it gets to the people that don't respond to direct mail. It gets to the people that aren't digital nomads that want to click on a QR code or go to a website or click on an ad. So it's really about making sure that those mediums are not only working together, but ensuring that you're maximizing that reach out to your audience.
And I bet when you send a direct mail piece or two, and you let it sit there for a month, having that cold call follow up on that lead adds a little bit of that credibility, because when they say, who are you? And then they got your letter, and then they're able to like correlate, well, wait a second, I think I saw Supercharged, or whatever company it is. They're like, wait, I want to talk to you, and I've looked you up and I've seen your reviews, I've seen your videos, right? So that when you talk about omnipresence, you're talking all about having that brand awareness and having, putting a face to the business, and having credibility with the reviews, so that people are like, I trust what I'm dealing with here.
100%. And if I can add to that as well, Al, I think as going back to marketing and personalizing things, you've heard me say this 100 times, and I'm sure for those listening, if anyone's listened to me before, they've heard me say this. We're not in the business of real estate, people. We're in the business of relationships. Let me say that again. We're in the business of relationships, not real estate. Real estate just happens to be the thing that we are transacting with our buyers and sellers. Relationships is where it's at. So when you've got a prospect that goes to your website and checks you out and reads your letter and responds to your cold call, if they are really using their omni-channel presence and they have gone and checked you out, they want to see and hear stuff that they resonate with. They want to see and hear stuff that speaks to their problems, that goes, I think I really want to do business with Ali. Really sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And I've just watched a video on him and he sounds really approachable. It's all that stuff that omni-channel presence is really about capturing. Because people will decide to sell to you if they like you and if it's the right price. but they also have to like you.
Right. And they have to believe in that message that you're conveying to them. They want to feel that you're going to help solve their problems, and you're hitting their points that they want to just they want to sell, they want to get rid of the property, and they just feel comfortable with you.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
It's crazy too, Alicia. I just saw on the bottom when we're putting the chyrons there, I saw Land Scouts. That like took me back to 2019. I was like, that's the company. I remember that. It's crazy. Well, you're doing these deals from Australia. You're doing the deals virtually. It's not just you when it comes to marketing and hitting things with direct mail. You have a team. And what you've been able to do is put a team of virtual assistants all over the world, and you've handpicked the VAs that are really working for your systems, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. The role of virtual assistants and customer service.
Yep.
How are you fine tuning that? Because so many investors have people overseas, have people that are here in the US.
Yeah, 100%. So if I can talk about it through the lens of supercharged offers, because that's where the majority of our team is at the moment. We've got now 23 people in the team across 5 countries.
Wow.
So, some of them we have met in person, but 98% of the team, we have never met them in person. And these are people that have been with us 4 or 5 years. So I feel very blessed that our team is with us and that they've stayed with us. But I think it comes back to the question of, well, why? First and foremost, we don't call anyone a VA. A VA is a thing. It's a, virtual assistant is like where you go to get a service of something. We call our team what they are. We've got project managers, data specialists, data scientists, designers, developers, content writers. So they have a title. And within that title becomes their position description. So being very, very clear with them about what is the job that you're actually being employed to do. And then within that is very well defined. And we're actually going through the process of updating these at the moment, but very well defined standard operating processes. What is it that we expect you to do? What does good look like? How are you going to be assessed on your performance? And essentially, at the end of the day, they're not an external person. They're part of our business and part of our team, and we need to treat them like that. Here's what I see where people get this wrong, Al. And for anyone listening, take this with the utmost of love and respect with what I give it. A lot of people feel like I'm at the tipping point in my business. I've got lots of stuff going on, lots of moving pieces, and I just need some help. So they go and hire a virtual assistant, be that their customer service person or maybe their due diligence comps person, whatever that might be. But here's where it comes unstuck. A lot of people think that by getting a resource, their problems are going to be solved. But now what do we have is a people problem. Now I've got to manage a person and manage their performance and check their work and do all these things. So what I always say to people is if you are at this stage of wanting to hire a resource, be that whatever that looks like for you, number one, make sure you have done the role first. Make sure you understand what does good look like. And as you've done the role, write out all of the SOPs, the standard operating processes and procedures. Write those all out, film some videos, have a dedicated training plan, a dedicated onboarding plan, then get your person on board. Really ask yourself, what do I need to do to set this person up for success? Because this is how humans operate. If we're just going to throw problems at someone and expect that they're miraculously going to fix it, it doesn't work that way, right?
Right.
But if we throw instructions and guides and videos and how-tos and steps and, all these different things at someone and we train them up on it and we say, if you get stuck, just follow this and come back to me with questions, we get a different outcome. But all too often I see people that are just in that rush to fix the problem. So they just throw a person at the problem. Doesn't work.
Yeah, it's funny too, because when I was starting my business, I'm thinking, oh, we got to hire this one and start adding to the team. But at the time, I didn't realize, well, wait a second. That means hours of dedication to training, fixing, damage control, quality control. And it sounds like when you add more hands in the pot, it doesn't always make it better.
It doesn't.
And it sometimes makes more problems.
It does.
You're going to be in your business more than out and on your business.
Yeah, now you're just going to be managing people. And I always say what I advise people to do, first of all, is think through the lens of processes and systems first, then people. Okay, because if you haven't got the right processes and systems in place, processes being like SOPs, as I mentioned, but also processes in terms of ways of working, KPIs, measurement, systems, CRMs, the right calling system, the right project management system, whatever it is that those systems need to make things easier, then get a person to manage it. Because if you're just flying by the seat of your pants and you don't have those processes and systems in place, you're going to create a nightmare for yourself, but also a nightmare for your new team member. And you're spending a lot of time and money hiring this person. So wouldn't it be even awesome if they had a great experience being the onboarding and the training, and now we've set them up for success? That would be amazing.
Right. Like you said, make some videos like Loom videos so that you can really explain, say, hey, this is your role. This is what you're going to be doing. And if you come across this problem, this is where you ask questions, and we do training. We have weekly training. And once you start doing that, it helps. And
Correct.
they can be, they can be out of the country. It doesn't matter. There's all this technology at your fingertips that you can utilize that can help them succeed and help the assistants succeed, your team succeed. And I love that. Alicia, what do you look for specifically when hiring a virtual assistant or assistant period? Because I can only imagine that, and you are the type, you know what you want, and you know exactly what you're looking for, and you can filter that out. So what is that?
Yeah. And let me preface this out. I don't get it right every time. Sometimes you think you've got everything pinned down and you know what you're looking for, and then you find the person and then it doesn't work out. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up about that. Use that as a learning experience and then say, what do I need to adjust for next time? But it really comes back to, and again, what I'm about to say is not new here, right? Hire for attitude, teach for skill. Attitude is everything. If you've got someone with the same values aligned to your organization, the right attitude in terms of their approach to their work, maybe even do things like a predictive index assessment or a DISC assessment, really get a sense of like who they are and how they show up, because you can't teach that stuff. What you can teach is knowledge and skills. Okay. And as long as you've got your SOPs worked out, and again, just to come back to the SOPs, if you haven't done that before and you are at that crunch point of needing a resource, then do it with them. So as part of their training, literally walk them through things step by step and film it, and then get it transcribed and then give it to them and say, great, watch this. Here's the transcription. As you're watching it, build out the SOP. Nothing better for the adult brain than to watch, listen, and learn all at the same time, right? But coming back to recruitment, it's definitely hire for attitude, teach for skill. Now, does it mean that I also look for people with the skills that we need? Absolutely. But if I'm then down to, say, 3 candidates for the job, and we've got 3 that have awesome attitudes, awesome profiles, their values really aligned to what we're trying to do, their motivation really aligns to the job and what we're trying to do, then it comes down to, well, which one has the shortest ramp up time and the quickest uptake when it comes to their skills and what they know. So skills and experience always comes second.
And attitude, and when you take all of that together, you're forming a culture that is built to last, right? And being able to address the issues as you go, talk about it, make the videos, and then save it in the bank for when others eventually come on board. And that way you're not having to reinvent this whole thing all over again.
You got it.
I see it in my business all the time. I'm ready to make more videos and have more training on what we're doing, just so I don't have to do it again.
Yeah. But let's also just pause, and you just mentioned that word training, right? Training never stops. So even if you've onboarded someone, you've done the SOPs, you've done the training, when you have VAs or customer service people or whatever you choose to call them, weekly basis, you need to be doing training, feedback, and quality control, if not daily, right? So you do still end up as part of your role managing people and leading people. Now, I guess you got to ask yourself, if you're a business owner, are you also a natural leader? Because if you're not, maybe there's some skills that you need to go and build in order to build that team around you as well.
Have you had to have moments where you've had to look within and think about, like, how do you become a better leader in those moments?
Yeah, I have. I guess I'm lucky that my background is actually in human resources, organizational development, and leadership. So I kind of came with a pretty good toolkit around that stuff. But that doesn't make me perfect, right? No one is perfect. So every now and then I do need to stop and go, oh, am I leading this person in the way that's getting the best out of them? Because I'm doing it in the way that I know, but not everyone's the same, right? We're not all painted with the same brush. So sometimes you do need to pause and say, am I getting the best out of this person? And if not, the first thing you have to do is put the mirror up and go, well, what am I either doing or not doing that is or isn't getting the result? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, how that person delivers and what they deliver is through the guidance of what you're asking them to do. So, yeah, sometimes you do have to pause. And I have had to pause and go, let's just reassess here. And
Right.
it doesn't mean you need to change everything. It might just mean a little tweak over here, a little twist and turn over here, and we're back on track.
Yeah, and I don't know. I can tell you from my experience, I'm always reflecting on what we've discussed, what we've gone over. How did I handle it? How do we handle it better next time? Internally, externally, there has to be reflection on it.
Definitely.
And I can tell you, I'm sure there's people that don't even get into that. And I know that the best teams out there do that reflection. And that makes them better leaders because they're always thinking about how they can do better with what they're conveying with their message
Yeah.
and how they're showing that leadership to the others, right? Because
Yeah.
how you show that leadership to them is how they will show leadership to the others when others
Correct.
are hired on as
Yeah.
well.
Correct.
That's the culture. And so you
It
have to
is.
establish that.
Yeah, and it comes back to a principle that I like to lead by and live by, and that is that we teach people how to treat us. I'll say that again and let that sink in for a few people, right? We teach people how to treat us. So if we're always late for things, we're essentially teaching those people around us, you can be late for me. If we're delivering subpar work that needs, it's got mistakes all through it and someone needs to red pen it, we're teaching them that you can deliver that type of work to me. So really think about how you are showing up as a leader in your business and how you are subconsciously teaching people to work with you, because it's match and mirror all the time.
Right. I love it. It makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people should be paying attention to this just because when we are doing business every day, you have to perform better. You have to make your team better. And by doing that, that'll help you scale. That'll help you have a more well-oiled machine. It all will come together and it'll happen. I love it. Alicia, we saved the best for last. And this is a big part. And I hope a lot of people are ready because she is a wealth of knowledge for this. We are going to be talking about the top mistakes people need to overcome when getting into marketing. And I got my pen and paper because I'm going to be taking notes on this. She's going to cover the 5 Ds. Alicia, tell us, what are the 5 Ds?
All right. So the 5 Ds, the first one is really about, well, there's a whole bunch, right? But let me just, before I get into the 5 Ds, let me preface this with a few things. When you're a real estate investor, you wear a number of different hats. So when you get into this business of trying to do real estate, all of a sudden, you might have come from a W-2 job and went, I'm going to get into this real estate business. And you bring in a certain level of skills and experience based upon your life experience, right? All of a sudden, though, you wear the hat of every business owner. You need to know how to be a data person, a marketer, a negotiator, a salesperson, a closing person, someone who understands digital marketing, someone who knows how to write content, someone who knows how to deal with data scrubbing, cleansing, parsing. Every single thing I've mentioned there, Al, are all different skill sets. And very quickly, what I see with a lot of our customers that come to us is they end up in overwhelm. Because when you're trying to do all of that, you've barely got time to scratch yourself and go, okay, what do I need to do next? So one of the biggest mistakes I think I make before I even get into the 5 Ds, one of the biggest mistakes I think I see others make, should I say, is thinking that they need to do it all. And then getting overwhelmed and feeling like this is not working, stuff's not coming together like it should. I'm doing good stuff over here, but not so good stuff here. And do you remember at the last family mastermind we were at when Sean McCloskey was talking? I don't know if you saw it, but he said, always ask yourself, are you giving that 10 out of 10? And when's the last time you were working on something and you gave it 10 out of 10? And everyone in the room was like, oof.
Yeah.
Because I looked at that and went, wow, sometimes I'm juggling so many things that I'm giving this thing a 4 out of 10. And this thing may be a 6 out of 10. This thing over here is getting a 2 out of 10 because it's not urgent or important, but I'm trying to do everything. And I think about that through the lens of a real estate investor. Where they make their money is when they're giving 10 out of 10 to two things. The first, doing their research and analysis on where they want to do deals and what types of deals that looks like. So they're really familiar with those areas and those markets that they want to get into. The second, relationships, nurturing, closing deals. Being on the phone with your sellers and buyers, not outsourcing that, building those relationships, nurturing them, making your offers, all of this stuff. Telephone, email, just keeping those conversations going. If you're giving 10 out of 10 to those two things, you will succeed. But then it comes into the other 5 Ds, which is, how do we leverage all the other stuff out there so that you can give those two things 10 out of 10, right? So let me break down those 5 Ds for you. The first one is really about data. So data is understanding what types of data you need and how to treat that data. What are some of the mistakes that we see people make here? Number one, they don't do enough research. They're not really looking at the markets and understanding, is this a good market or not a good market? What are the buyer and seller behaviors doing? What's the demand? What's supply versus demand? What's the days on market? If I was to partner with builders and developers, what are they looking for in these areas? What's the buy box typically out there? And how do I understand what the data is telling me about that market? So that's mistake number one. But embedded in that mistake is also when they're trying to pull data. So maybe they've, done some research. They understand what market they want to get into, and they go and buy some data for that, but then they don't know how to treat the data. Case in point, one of our customers, Thomas, I was on a call with him last night, and before joining us, he sent out a mailer last year. So he bought some data, he sent out a mailer. He's had nearly 20% of his mail returned because they were bad addresses. And I'm like, that is a waste of time and a waste of money, because he just didn't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so if he hadn't known how to treat that data, how to verify it, how to check it, how to run it through an NCOA process with USPS, how to do all these little things to make sure that the data is optimum, he would have got a different result. But again, a lot of people don't know how to do that, and they just get overwhelmed with knowing that. So that's the first thing, data.
And about data,
Yep.
a lot of people do that, right? They'll just pull the public records. They'll pull a lead service provider, and they'll get all this, and they'll start skip tracing, buying skips, sending the direct mail, and then they don't get any results. Or like you said, they'll get return mail, and they won't know what to even do with that.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that happen in that process that people aren't leveraging, and that's because, like you said, they're not understanding how to do the research. Right. That's the key. I have that like underlined multiple times, doing that research in that market and understanding how to leverage that data there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. And I guess the other, coming back to one of the Ds, the first other D that I think I'll come back to in that is also design. So data is one thing, but design. What does design mean? Design is not logos. Design is not, can I have the world's best looking website? Design is actually about business design. So a lot of people get into real estate investing because they've seen something out there. They've watched people on socials, and they're like, oh, if that person can do it, I can do it. But we don't know that person's strategy. We don't know how they've designed their business to be set up for success. So one of the things that I think people really need to pay homage to is, what do I want my business to look like? And what kind of results do I want my business to produce for me? And then reverse engineer that into your design. So that design needs to take into account your strategy. So what counties, what areas are you going to do? The volume of work, which you then need to reverse engineer into the volume of hours you can commit to your business. If it means that you need to be getting 30 offers out a week in order to meet your numbers, because again, there's some basic numbers out there that we can work with on this. Have you got the time and the capacity to get across maybe 60 leads that week and run your numbers and your comps and get all of that out? How do you want your business to serve you? Is it something that you want location freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom? If that's the case, what does the design need to be to get you towards that? And too often, Al, I see people get into real estate investing that are month to month. It's like this month to next month, and then they pivot because that month didn't work. So then I'm going to try something else, and that didn't work. So then I'm going to try something else. What I then see, I can see you shaking your head, right?
Yeah.
We end up in bright shiny syndrome. Bright shiny syndrome being, I'm going to try 100 things and just see what sticks. Whoo, the amount of people I can tell that have wasted a lot of time and a lot of money on that. When you've got a really solid strategy and design for your business, you then have a plan. And if you can stick to that plan and grow with it, things will start to fall into place. But when you're all over the shop, that's when people kind of come unstuck.
Right. And a lot of people have that shiny object syndrome.
Yep.
1 month they're doing this, next month they're doing that. And had they just stuck with it for 6 months, they could at least get some results from it. And then that would give them the drive to continue another 6 months.
Absolutely.
But like you said, it comes down to having that strategy as well. Like a lot of people go into this and they have no strategy. There's no vision. There's no direction. And so if you don't have that, how do you know where you're going? I mean, even for my business, you have to have strategy. You have to have it mapped out. I have it mapped out. Whether it's on the marketing side or the law firm side, it's mapped out. And if you're not mapping it out, you have no direction. So like you're saying, that is the design. That right there is that it's the blueprint.
Design. It's the blueprint. Yeah, we could call it the 4 Ds and the 1 B being a blueprint, but we went with design. But you're right. And it's and I love that you said, give something 6 months because, and especially in the vacant land space, for those that are in vacant land that are tuning in and listening, we know that it's not an overnight thing. So you might do something 1 month and not get a result, but guess what? 3 or 4 months time, that result might show up from that thing that you did that month. It's not an overnight thing. So that's the other one is design. Yeah. Any questions on that before we move to the 3rd D?
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get to questions because people will be asking them. We'll keep rolling. So the 3rd D, which one did you want to get to? Direct mail?
I'll go with direct marketing, which in essence is about direct mail and cold calling.
Okay.
And that comes back to, again, the stuff. We won't spend too much time on this one because we've already kind of hashed it out, right? Which is customer experience and making sure you're maximizing your list across the omni-channel presence. So and omni-channel is a number of things, but the 2 main things when it comes to direct marketing is direct mail and cold calling. You need to make sure you've got both engines running. It doesn't mean that you need to market to both audiences or both engines, should I say, with the same data. It might mean that you do cold calling first and you end up in negotiation with like 30 leads. And then the ones that didn't answer, now you send them direct mail. Or coming back to design, you might say, I'm going to send out all of my direct mail. And the minute I can see that direct mail has been delivered, I'm going to initiate a cold call or a ringless voice out to those people to say, hey, your mail's been delivered. I'd love to talk to you about your property. So again, bringing that back to strategy and just making sure that direct marketing is tuned in. And here's what I see a lot of people do. And I'll talk about cold calling here for a second. They'll go, I don't like cold calling. Like, great. You want to know what my response is?
What is that?
It's actually not about you. It's not about what you like or don't like. It's about what your customers are going to respond to. So if you're really serious about your business, you need to be leveraging all the different mediums out there because you are not your customer. Your customer is your customer. So really think about that. And the other thing to consider with that direct marketing is how you are responding to those leads, because let's just, at a high level, I'll just highlight the differences. Direct mail lead. They've opened the letter. They've read it. They've probably gone to your website or clicked on a QR code. Maybe they've done some research on you and now they're picking up the phone and calling you or sending you back some mail. Cold call lead, cold. They've never been to your website. They don't know who you are. So I always say with a cold call lead, you need to treat that differently than a direct mail lead. And here's what you do. Cold call lead, first conversation. So let's say the cold caller's handed it off to you, Al. You would then jump on the phone to me, preferably within 24 hours before they forget about the conversation, and say, hey, AJ and my team's just passed on all the information about your property. I'd love to get to know a little bit more about you, but also allow you to get to know me because I know we've never met before. Okay. And in doing so, what you want to do is get their email address, send them your website. Maybe if you've got an ebook or a video or things like that, get them to get to know you, to see that you're trustworthy and that you're real and that you're not some scammer or some big business out there trying to, rip everyone off, whatever it is, because there's all these preconceived ideas. What we need to really think about there is how we get over objections. Because before that person has met us, they're going to have objections in the back of their head about who you are, what you do, and any preconceived ideas they've got. So yeah, that's that next D, which is direct marketing, cold calling, direct mail, and how to handle them both differently.
Yeah, and here's what's interesting about digital marketing. What's interesting is I wonder once in a while when I'm on a probate call if anybody's looked me up, like a seller, an heir, beforehand.
Yeah.
And you get on these calls and right away the people are very trusting and I'm thinking, I mean, I called and they don't know me, right? But what have they done before that call? They've absolutely looked me up. They've looked the website up. They've looked the reviews up. And so right away, when they see the relatability of what other people have gone through in that situation, that wait a second, there's something here. It just provides that comfort. It provides just that trust that's needed. And if you're not putting yourself on the platforms, at least having that website and having some kind of page where people can find you, you're not helping
Got
yourself.
it.
And that's what Alicia's talking about
Yep.
when it comes to digital marketing. Put it out there.
That's the fourth D, by the way, digital marketing. So direct marketing is more offline, digital marketing more online. And you've just pointed to something that I think is really important, right? You just never know who's checking you out. And let me tell you, folks, people check you out. The reason why we know that is when we're building websites and funnels for our customers, we track website visits. We track QR clicks. We track all these things. We can see a direct correlation when a direct mail piece goes out. A week later, woof, up goes the website visits and QR clicks, because guess what they're doing? They're checking you out. So digital marketing, yeah. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that people make with digital marketing. First mistake, looking and sounding like everyone else. So if you're using a templated website, they're great when you're starting out in business because you need some kind of online presence, right? But Google doesn't love it. Most customers, if they have been targeted by multiple real estate investors, if you look and sound like everyone else, tends to push them away. Second thing, having cash splashed all over everything. People want to minimize in their mind the likelihood of a scam and maximize in their mind the likelihood of a relationship, someone they can trust. So make sure you're marketing even down to your imagery, the things that you're putting out there, the ads that you're running, the content that you have, the social posts that you're doing. Make sure that it's, again, tailored to market message match. What's the problem that they have and how are you solving it? And that is not always about come and get the best cash offer now, because again, people are motivated by time or money, but maybe they're also motivated by the fact that they've got a huge problem with their property and they need someone that's going to help them. So tapping into that. Digital marketing as well is also about omni-channel presence. So don't just have a website and think that people are going to find you. You need to be doing things like running ads, pay-per-click, having your socials interact with your website, having your website registered on a number of business citation pages that has backlinks to you. So again, they go to Google you, up you come in all of these business pages too. Great for credibility. So it's all these little things that you need to think about when it comes to a digital presence that then speaks to your audience, right?
Absolutely. You have to have it all. I mean, you have to hit it in different directions because you never know what that person is going to be looking up, whether they're just using it through Google or they're finding you on Instagram or YouTube. Doesn't matter. You have to have that presence in every channel. Of course, a website too. You know how many people, Alicia, still don't have a website and they're in business? And I'm like,
or they have one and it's terrible. And again, the oxymoron to that is if you've got a really bad website, it's almost worse than not having one, because if it's really bad and people go to it and they're turned off instantly, that really starts to damage your brand and your profile. So you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But people, if you're listening and you don't have a good website and it's not getting traffic to it, then it's just a beautiful online brochure that no one knows about, and that's a waste of money.
Exactly. Was that all the D's or are we missing one? One left. What is that one?
The last one is we like to wrap it up into what we call dashboard, which is KPIs and results. You probably are seeing this like I am, right? And again, I'm going to say this with the utmost of love for people out there. I speak to a lot of people and I say, all right, what's your KPIs? They don't have them. That comes back to design, by the way. In your strategy and your design, what are you measuring and how are you going to measure it? Because if you can't measure what's working and what's not working, how do you know what to switch on or switch off? How do you know what to do more of or less of? And so KPIs and having a dashboard. Now that dashboard might be a Google sheet. It might be just a spreadsheet. It might be just some Google Analytics that you're downloading every week. It might be just a tracker that you've got in your CRM that's monitoring the response rates from your cold call, your direct mail, your website leads, whatever it is, I don't care. But start to measure your results, because over time, it's very difficult for someone to turn around and go, oh, that's not working, unless you can tell someone why. And unless you can really get to the bottom of, well, is it working? So an example being, I had a customer I was speaking with earlier this week. And I was saying, oh, that county didn't really perform. And I said, okay, well, talk to me. How many responses did you get? And they told me. How many offers did you send out? Not many. So how many people are you nurturing? Oh, I haven't been. I was like, okay, well, you can't say that county isn't performing because you did get a really good amount of responses, but let's talk about your follow-up. Let's talk about your nurture sequences. Let's talk about offer 1, offer 2, offer 3. Let's talk about that. Because to say that something's not performing, you need to understand all the mechanics involved as to what performance really looks like.
I love it. Yeah, you have to measure your KPIs and your metrics. I think it was Tyler. Tyler Austin was on my show, and he talked about how he had a client, a student that was doing a lot of deals but wasn't tracking their KPIs. And as soon as they started tracking it, they realized how much money they were leaving on the table. And from there, they were able to revamp, change their business. And by keeping those metrics in place, I think they doubled or tripled their money. And and from there, I don't even know what kind of marketing they were doing, but all it took was just revisiting what those numbers were from
Yeah.
those channels.
Yep. 100%. All it needs to be sometimes is just understanding your business and what you're measuring and how you're measuring it. And what are the, maybe once a month, just pause and assess everything and go, all right, are there some little changes that we need to make, or is everything looking okay? Because sometimes it's not about massive changes as a result of looking at KPIs. Sometimes it's just a small tweak here or there, right? So
Right.
yeah, definitely.
Right.
I love that story, by the way. Just wow, imagine the power in that if everybody knew their numbers and they could just make some changes and double their business.
Right? Look at that. Now everybody's got to take the time to do that. So you have to. All right. So to do a recap on it, the 5 Ds, go for it.
Data, design, which is about your strategy, direct marketing, digital marketing, dashboard.
Love it. And all of that is really important for people to implement in their business. And how have you seen a few of your clients, your people implement that in their business? I know I wrote down some names to jog your memory on this. But like Kathy Nation and people like her.
Yeah. Well, essentially, and I'm not doing this as a plug for supercharged offers, but it kind of is. We implement those 5 Ds for you. So coming back to the stuff, when I said before about if you're to give your business a 10 out of 10 with what you're focused on, it needs to be your research and your relationships. Getting on the phone with sellers and buyers, nurturing relationships, following up your offers, keeping those lines of communication open. Kathy does that brilliantly. And she also knows how to monitor her KPIs like no one I know. So every time we get on a call, she's got her numbers. She knows where things are at. We just had the best conversations. I was literally on a call with her 2 days ago, and we were going through her numbers for Feb so far. And it was just like, wow, so much in her pipeline, which is great. But she knows where it's coming from, what it's doing, and where each one of those customers is up to in terms of her negotiation and her strategy with them. Because we do the rest. So the whole implementing of those 5 Ds. Yeah, she is awesome. I agree, Teresa. The whole implementation of those 5 Ds, that's where we really come in and help people, because we want people to focus on the 10 out of 10 activities that get their businesses moving. Because if they're trying to do all 5 Ds on their own, they will get overwhelmed. They will go and hire a VA to plug a hole in their business and end up with another problem. And I know that because I've had so many customers come to me that I've had to unwind those problems and get them back to basics and start again.
So was she implementing some of the other Ds, but was lacking on the KPI part is what was happening? So like you're saying, how not everybody can do all 5 Ds at the same time.
Yeah.
You're going to be strong in some and then weak in the other. So the KPI part was just the weak spot there. And then
Yeah, 100%. So her KPIs, she was always monitoring her numbers, but what she really lacked, and we should have like another one in there, but it starts with a C, and that's called consistency. But when you work with us, we kind of make that happen anyway, right? She was having a lot of trouble with her data. She was losing track of stuff in her CRM. She was losing control on good data quality and making sure that that data was, good quality in equals good quality out, right? She was not consistent with her direct marketing. It was a little bit stop and start, and I know she won't mind me saying this. And she just really needed some help. She had the design in mind. The design was, I know what I want my business to look like, and I know what I want my business to do for me. I just need some help. We were like, great, let's go.
amazing how it turned around. What about you also we wrote down Mark Dublar.
Mark's awesome. Again, when Mark came to us, he'd been very, what's the right way to put it? Very sporadic with his marketing. He'd done a few deals and just really wanted to take his business bigger, but didn't want to have to hire an entire team of people to do it. So he's managed to keep it to just him and outsource everything to us, so that, again, we've now got him focused on those two things, market research and just doing lead nurture. So whenever we get on a call now, he literally sends me before that call like a page and a half of notes of every single lead and where they're up to, what he's negotiating on, where that negotiation is, next steps, etc. He knows where every single one of his customers is. Now, I reckon most people listening would not be able to say that about their businesses. But if he's now got that control over it, that he knows exactly what's going on, because all this other stuff we're now doing for him. So yeah, he's going great as well. Really excited for him.
So you were able to have that conversation right away and realize what those two areas were that he was really strong in, and be like, you stay there in that role. Yep. And then the rest is what's going to be boosted up on the other side. Yeah. And it's like, it's almost you're identifying the strengths and just plugging in the weakness areas.
You got it. Yeah, that's exactly right. And one of the first things that I'll do with all of our customers is really spend some time getting to know them and their businesses. Like, what is it that they're actually good at? What's the stuff they want to do versus don't want to do? What are the things that are going to be more revenue generating for them that perhaps they need to spend some more time and attention on? And actually what I can do, Al, I've actually got a bit of a freebie here, and I didn't give it to you guys before.
Oh, we love freebies. We love
we do actually have a freebie based on the success scorecard. And this success scorecard is really just about how people can assess themselves and their businesses against the 5 Ds to then understand, like, where do their strengths lie, and where could they actually do some more stuff in. So I know I'm just going to put this in the chat box here for you and I, but maybe we could just pop that in the group or
Mike will put it up. He'll put it up on the Chirons right there.
Yeah.
And
I've given you the long link as well. So sorry, Mike.
Yeah, it's a link right there. We'll make sure we put it up. But let me ask you too about Charlotte and Matt. What was interesting about that story?
Yeah, Charlotte and Matt are just gorgeous. So husband and wife team, really beautiful couple. And when they came to us, they've been working with us now about 18 months or so. When they first came to us, they were super inconsistent. They were still at that stage of proof of concept, and they were in overwhelm. Because they were trying to do it all. Matt was trying to do the business full time. Charlotte supporting him on the side. They were very unstructured. Started to get, and I'll say this with the utmost of love for them both, but started to get bright, shiny syndrome. So they were testing some different coaches and different people out there. And it was like, oh, so many things we can do. And we've been told to do this. I'm like, well, we can do that, but that might not be what's going to work for you. So let's really get to know you and your business. And again, that design of what you're looking for in your business. So over the space of last year, we just worked really, really hard on getting them super consistent. And they did have a couple of periods in there that they were like, I don't know if this business is working, AJ. And I'm like, just stick with it. Because if we've got the strategy and we know what direction we're heading, just stick with it. So last year, they finished the year with mid 6 figures. So mid in the hundreds, sorry. So working part-time and just focusing on their business to get it to the stage that they want. And this year we're going to double it. So, again, just sticking with the basics, trying not to add too many bright, shiny things, trying to get really clear on who you are, what you bring to your business, what skills you should be employing into your business, and knowing what results you're looking for. And so now they're really aligned. They're super happy with where their business is at, and we're just moving on to bigger and better things for them. And now they've embraced cold calling too, so we're adding that in.
Amazing. And each one of these people just have had different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And you're just identifying that. And people need to identify that based off what you went through with the 5Ds and some of the things we even talked about before, for them to realize, well, wait a second, what are we strong in? What are we lacking in? Where do we need that extra boost? Right.
Yep, you got it.
Amazing. I love it, Alicia. This is it's different because we're not just talking about real estate. We're talking about just all that marketing that goes into this, and really how do you get the deals and find and for people to eventually reach out, right? Because you need to do what you're best at when it comes to the business and having extra help. I love it. And I got to say, at the end of my show, we've been doing signature questions. And I have a few for you. And we didn't go over this before, but we will now. So you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
No, I'm nervous. What are you going to ask me?
If you had unlimited resources, what would you do to improve your business?
Unlimited resources in terms of money or people or all of the above?
It's to your imagination.
Oh, what would I do with my business? If I had unlimited resources, I would probably invest a lot into the AI and automation space at this point to really look at how we can help people get their businesses not only just more efficient, but embracing the emerging technology that's coming out. I would do that. I would probably also invest in some other businesses that could complement our business to be able to offer more to our customers, because that whole concept of having multiple engines running is a good thing. And I'm an advocate of that.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. AI automation. That's a huge
And they're
thing.
very different things. A lot of people hear AI automation and go, oh, it's AI. No, it's not. They're very different things.
Yeah. All right. I love it. How do you handle fast growth and scale your business?
Ooh. How do I handle fast growth? So they're two separate things. So fast growth for me is exciting, but also stressful. So a lot of people go, oh, I want to grow fast. But the faster you grow, the more problems you tend to attract. Now, they don't necessarily all mean that they're bad problems. They're what I call positive problems, because growth comes with stretching yourself, stretching your team, stretching your resources, really understanding how to do that, not only in a safe way, but a less stressful way. But the caveat of that meaning, though, that, stress is a natural thing when you're in a growth phase. It's about how you handle that stress to remain focused, because stress can get in the way. I'll be honest. I'm not immune to any of that. Nobody is. And if they say they are, I'm like, are you really human?
Right. Exactly.
Because and the whole reason why a lot of that stress exists is because we care about the outcome. We care about things wanting to work out. So yeah, how do I handle fast growth? By having a plan, by knowing that plan often doesn't always work out as intended, and being okay to pivot when you need to pivot.
Absolutely. It's okay to pivot. A lot of people get
to
scared
say
about
this is not what we thought and we need to change. That's absolutely okay. That's not a failure.
Absolutely. I love it. What are the biggest challenges you face in your industry?
One of the biggest challenges being that we are an implementer, not an educator. One of the biggest challenges is a lot of people come to us and they've gone to real estate educators out there. Some are awesome. Some are not so awesome. But they go to these educators that sell them on this promise that they're going to be millionaires by next month. The fact of the matter is that's not reality. Yes, you might get a unicorn here and there, the unicorn deal that is like, oh my goodness, we just made 6 figures and it took us a month. Like, that does happen, but it's not going to happen to everyone. And it's certainly not the norm. The norm is about a 6-month lead time and a ramp time of keeping your business going, keeping your marketing going, keeping your lead pipeline going, managing your contracts, getting them to a state of closing, getting the return on investment for that close. That takes months. Average is about 6 months. So I think one of the biggest challenges for me in this industry, being real estate investing, is unfortunately people are still being sold a lot of the times on this dream that isn't really the reality. And then they come to us and expect us to implement that, and they haven't got a marketing budget left because they've just spent $50,000 on coaching and they still don't have a result. And that gets me really upset for a number of reasons, because sometimes people have literally spent their life savings on an education and they've left nothing in the tank to implement. And that's really sad. I think that's a big challenge in this industry, is how do we normalize that? Yes, it's okay to go and pay for your education and pay for coaching, but just know that you need to have money to implement in your business and build your business and do your marketing and pay for systems and things like that. Otherwise, it's just lovely knowledge to have, but you're never going to get that stage that you want.
Right. And hopefully there's someone like you that can kind of get to them before they've spent.
I hope so. Yeah,
I
hope so. And look, if you've got your $50,000 to spend on coaching, go and spend it. But make sure you got some money left in the bank and some energy left in the bank to go and implement.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to be spending that's crazy. I mean, spending $50,000 on a coaching program like that, I mean, the ROI on that better be really high to invest in that. But I hear you. There should be like a verification system out there, really, for education programs.
Yes, I agree. And I think a lot of educators should also say, look, if you're going to spend X amount on your education, you need to have X amount as a budget to implement. Like, let's be really clear with people upfront about what that really looks like.
Got it. I know. They should be upfront about that.
Yeah.
Should be upfront about what they're getting with that package. Okay, I think this is going to be your favorite question. How do you stay organized in your business?
Oh, I laugh because some days I am not organized, but most of the time I am. Number one, I work to a schedule. So everything that needs to happen is in my calendar. So that also includes blocking out time for certain projects and tasks, because sometimes, Al, I have days like today and yesterday, because I'm here in the States at the moment. I was literally back to back from 8 a.m. till 7 last night. I had like 1 30-minute break because someone had to move a meeting and didn't have time to get, my normal work done. Now, that's not a normal day for me. But because I'm here in US hours at the moment, I really got to maximize that time, right? But then next week, I've had to carve out some time to really work on some specific projects and things that I need to get done. So managing my time effectively, I think, is the most important, and knowing what time you need for certain things, and always making sure that you overestimate that time that you need, because things happen, stuff doesn't go right. So if you think to yourself, I need to have a day to get that done, give yourself 2, because then also you're going to not feel like you're letting yourself down. If you do get it done in 2 days, well, that's great. If you get it done in 1, bonus, you've now got more time up your sleeve. How I also stay organized is really with constant comms. I always say to my team and everyone, we need to be super proactive in how we communicate with everyone, including each other and our customers, so no one is left second guessing what is about to happen or what hasn't happened. So being proactive in communication so that you're ahead of the curve, not behind the curve.
Awesome. And I would say that you're right. Staying organized, it's a challenge. That's almost a challenge that we face in our business.
Yeah.
Right. And being able to deal with fires that pop up and last minute cancellations. And then what are you going to do to utilize that time when somebody canceled, or now you have to switch it around, and then your productivity has to be at an all-time high, right? I feel like I'm always thinking about that, is like, how do I become more productive in my day when those little gaps happen? So you're right. Like you told me before, it's like organized chaos, right?
Yeah.
It happens.
And I think, for anyone listening, don't feel like you're going to be perfectly organized all the time, because guess what? Being a business owner is surrounded with chaos. It is normal to have days and moments where you feel like everything is out of control. And then it's just about regrouping with your team, yourself, your own thoughts, maybe going outside and getting some fresh air and sunshine for 5 minutes, coming back and going, right, let's regroup and get this sorted again, back on track. It's a roller coaster.
It always is. Every day you're learning, and that's what it's about. I got to say, we put up the link, right? We got the freebie for Supercharged Offers is right there. You got it. And find the link right below and check her out and check out the whole company. I mean, Alicia is doing amazing with Supercharged Offers. So many investors are having success with it. And every time I'm like, hey, Alicia, have you connected with this one? You're like, yeah, we're working with them. So we're working with so many people that you all know already. So check it out.
And not just across vacant land either. Our system is geared for any asset class and any market. So we're good. We're good to go.
Land Scouts, and it's amazing. I love seeing that you're having this company still. It's incredible.
It's exciting.
It's great.
And same for you, Al. I've seen you grow and seen you blossom into where you are now, and it's just wonderful. So,
thank you.
Kudos to you too.
Thank you. It's a work in progress every day. I'll tell you that. We got some people that have just commented, and thank you, Mike, for putting up that link just in case we didn't get it up there. We have Kevin's out over there in Lakeland. D, what's up, D? Teresa, as always. Shelly, see, it worked. Wherever you commented, it worked. And if you're not watching it right now, I'll let you know tomorrow and I'll say, hey, wherever you commented, it worked. So thank you. Because sometimes we'll get comments from people, they'll drop it, but I don't see it in the feed for some reason. Technology.
Yeah.
And Jess Angel, wow, Jess, what's up? I haven't heard from you in a while. I don't know what she was referring to, but she's watching. And
that was when we were talking about standard operating processes and recruiting. She said, yeah, saves time in the long run. Absolutely, Jess.
Yeah, there you go. You have to implement those 100% and do it in the moment. Don't wait to implement that kind of stuff. But if you have any questions for Alicia, whether you're watching now, later, you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, reach out to her, reach out to the team. It's all about the relationships, like she's talked about, the connections. And if you're getting a 10 out of 10 on that, you got it right there.
100%.
Alicia, so much fun. Every time I see you, I got to tell you, when I met you at Hero for the first time in person, I was so excited. I was waiting right behind you just because I was like, I can't wait to meet her in person. What a surreal experience, just because connecting virtual is one thing. When you get to see people in person, it's a game changer. And that's
totally agree. Yep. Can't wait to see you in a few weeks where I'll wrap my arms around you for a big hug.
Exactly. I can't wait. Can't wait for that. Alicia, as I do at the end of the Al Nicoletti Show, I do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts. It's anything that you really want to refine, send a message on. It's that parting words that you have for the audience out there, whether a one word, a sentence, you name it. This is the moment for you. So as I always do, final words, final thoughts, Alicia Jarrett.
Final words, I guess, folks, is don't feel like you need to do this all alone, because being a real estate investor, especially if you're working from home and you're doing this on your own, it can be pretty lonely. So reach out, connect with people in groups, connect with me. I'll connect you with others. Utilize your networks and leverage what's out there to really help you, not only personally, but professionally in your business, because you don't have to do it all alone.
Boom. We're going to leave it right there. Alicia, I'll see you soon at Family, and you are a gem. Thank you so much for coming on. You're amazing. Everybody, check her out. Check out Supercharged Offers, Land Scouts. Learn from what we're all doing. Learn from the best in the industry and all the value that they provide out there. So, Alicia, I'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you, Al. Thank you so much.
Of course. See you soon. Take care. All right, everybody. Look at that. A masterclass in the marketing side of getting a lot of deals, right? We're not just talking about creative deals or title or anything like that. Tonight was really about what you got to focus on when it comes to direct mail, cold calling, VAs, and the 5 Ds. She talked about relationships and the research that goes into it, and that you have to have the strategy and design. There's so much to unpack just from this episode on things that you can truly implement in your business now. That'll be a game changer. And her company, Supercharged Offers, that's what they do, the 5 Ds. So it's amazing to see what the analysis is with the marketing side and how she's even got that company that'll help boost it on the other side of it. So pay attention to your business, pay attention to your numbers. And like she was talking about the KPIs, big stuff right there. And I think that the three things that really stuck with me was market message, and what was that? What was that last word right there? Math. There we go. I don't know why I didn't write that down the right way. All right, everybody. We got it right there. Check us out on the QR code. It's a wrap on the Al Nicoletti Show. I'll see you all next Wednesday. You don't want to miss it with Brandon Bateman talking about inbound marketing. It's going to be another banger. I'll see you then. Have a great night.